Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of CityZilla Plays. And in this episode, we're going to go over some traffic fixes. So, our city actually doesn't have a huge amount of traffic at the moment, but this is a perfect time to start thinking about traffic. A lot of times in cities, you kind of get excited with building, and next thing you know, you end up with a pretty huge population, which we're not bad. I mean, 17.5's respectable, but a lot of times it ends up with more, and then you just have huge traffic jams. And so we're going to be a little proactive today and kind of go over some of the problem areas so that we can prevent them from getting worse. And we're going to actually kind of look at some strategies and stuff and ways that you can identify why traffic is being bad in certain areas. And so let's go ahead and dive in. And so we're going to look at these first main streets. You can kind of see it's a little red right here, and this is for good reason. These are two major roads, and so this is a 6-lane, and then this is another 4-lane with an asymmetric in the middle, and then this is the highway, and then a 4-lane. And I went ahead and threw in these asymmetrics to try to be a little proactive with it, so that we could also kind of see how it looks, to see even with that what kind of traffic we're still dealing with. And so we're definitely going to end up putting in some roundabouts in these intersections. They're really high volume intersections, and roundabouts tend to fix a lot of those problems, especially with this being the main highway. We're not going to really want people to stop as much as possible. And another big thing we did was this intersection right here is pretty busy. A lot of it is because this high density neighborhood right here, and then we didn't create access on this side, so they all have to come down here and then come into the neighborhood, or go that way if they're leaving the city, which is good that we put that there. But for most of the traffic, like trucks or anything, they're coming through this roundabout and then coming down, like garbage, any of the deliveries to the commercial buildings, as well as our little office park service complex right here. They're all coming down this way. And so to start off, what we're going to do is finish upgrading these roads. I really want to put in bike lanes all the way around, and this is the first thing you want to do. Before diving into any neighborhoods, you want to make sure that you upgrade your roads to whatever you want them to be. And since we're going to be promoting bike lanes as much as possible, we're just going to go ahead and start upgrading as many of these as possible. And we want to kind of identify some main roads here so that we can choose 6-lane or 4-lane. And so I went ahead and chose this one as a 6-lane just because it's kind of a coastal road. It's not going to have any zoning on this side, and so I think it's a great road to have as a main boulevard. But then obviously we have our highway coming down the middle, and then it would just be natural to have this one as a 6-lane as well. It hooks up to the highway. It's got this freeway highway in the middle, and then the two kind of 6 lanes around the outside. And then I think the roads that are going to be our main connections to this highway are probably going to be 6-lane as well. And then so we'll realistically only have a few 4 lanes, and so we're just looking for roads that have a little less traffic on them. And so like this one right here, we'll just keep 4-way. This one will probably keep 4-way because it looks like people are making this route, but this one will definitely have to do a 6-lane. And then this one as well, just because so many cars are taking it. And then you can kind of see the red going on in these intersections. These all need to be 6 lanes, and so we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. And there we go. And so now we have nice bike access. We can promote it, and we do actually have that policy on already, I believe. Yeah, encourage biking. And so now that we've laid down the foundation for that, it's just going to make it a little easier for them. Obviously, they can't bike down this highway, but they can use these little bike paths. And so this is going to go a long ways in preventing traffic. So then once all that's done, you have the roads that you want and everything. You can start diving in and just going into the intersections and everything. And so I'm just going to give an example of what I'm going to do, and then we're just going to kind of run through it. And so the first thing that you need to worry about is your priority. So is there a stop sign? Is there a yield sign? Is there a traffic light? and then you need to identify whether that intersection needs it. And so you can kind of see with these 3 ways, we have yield signs right now, which is perfect right here. But then when you're coming into like a bigger intersection like this one, obviously you would either want a traffic light, or if the crossover street is just not that busy, you could still get away with traffic signs. It wouldn't be incredibly realistic to have yield signs, though the game seems to do a little better with the yield signs. But you got to kind of play around with it. So I'm going to go ahead, and then after that, we also need to look at the lane arrows. So this is a good example. So you see how that left arrow is also a straightaway. So you'll end up getting cars that are queuing in this to turn left with cars that are trying to go straight behind it. And so if you have the traffic manager, you can just hit the lane arrows and just Control-Shift-Click, and it just makes it a dedicated turn signal so that the computer doesn't queue cars trying to go straight behind those people trying to turn left. And so little things like that go a long ways. One of the things that I really enjoy using as well is asymmetric roads, though a lot of times with 6 lanes you don't need them as much, and the game has a kind of a hard time identifying asymmetrics that are bigger than 3 lanes. I tried to do that with this road. I tried to do like a 4 and 2 because I thought if I could get 2 lanes turning left here that it would work really well, but for some reason the cars just wouldn't use that other lane, even when I was identifying like this lane needs to turn there and this lane needs to turn there. For some reason it still just didn't work. And so I think you can definitely go into the settings for this though and pump up the AI for it, and maybe it'll work. I haven't tested that yet, so maybe we'll have to test that out. So then another thing that you can do with the traffic manager is junction restrictions. And what this is can people change lanes in the intersection? Can people turn around in the intersection? Should people just go through the intersection, or should they stop at the line to kind of not block traffic? And with that, especially on main roads, you normally want to say that traffic can just continue on unless it's a stoplight or something. Because if you have a stop sign or a give or a yield sign, there's no reason for the traffic that doesn't have the yield or the stop sign to stop. And whenever you lay down the roads in vanilla or unmodded, or even with the mods, initially the game will tell the cars to stop and to kind of wait to see if anybody's going to go. And it ends up a lot of times building up traffic. And so you'll kind of see most times when you build up traffic, there's small issues like that. And so if you just go through and kind of fix them all, then you'll see that it fixes most of your traffic problems. And so right now I have despawning off, and you can kind of see a little bit of red. We're at 81% right now. I'm going to go through and fix all the intersections and junction restrictions and lane arrows and everything. I'll get back to you and we'll see where we're at. Okay, and so we went ahead and set up all the lane junction restrictions, all the lane arrows, all the priority signs, and we set up our roads. And so let's see if that affected traffic at all. So 80%, not a whole lot. You can kind of see we still got some red, and so we're going to go through into these major intersections. And since I already set up these walking paths and left some area available rather than just zoning right on the corner, it's actually would be really easy for us to just put in roundabouts here. And so that's what we're going to do here. You can kind of see the cars already queuing up. And as we expand our city, these intersections are just going to get busier and busier. So we want to go ahead and do that. Okay, and so there's our first little roundabout, and you can kind of already see once all these cars get through that now what has happened is we're actually stopping the cars from having to queue up. And so another thing I'm going to do is, since I had put an asymmetric here, I'm going to go ahead and downgrade it. There's no reason for us to have that, especially 3 lanes going into 3 lanes. We kind of want to keep, whenever you have a roundabout, you don't want to have the same amount of lanes or more lanes going into less. You want to kind of create lanes, and so we're going to come in here, do this, and just downgrade it, go back to what we had. And that's actually wrong. Go here, go there. Perfect. Get our nice little sound barriers back. We're going to go ahead and upgrade this with the sound barriers too. It's because you would definitely have sound barriers in a city like this, and so I think we'll actually put the sound barriers on this guy too. Yeah, there you go, and you can already see the traffic is a lot better than what it was. Cars aren't having to stop at all anymore. And so I think another thing we'll do is probably open up these nodes a little bit. Just so that when they're coming off the highway, it's a little less of a sharp turn. They can kind of swoop into it. They don't have to brake as much. I think that looks really good. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for this one. Okay, and so now we got 2 roundabouts in, and you can kind of see we got the bridges in. I lowered them down just to look a little better. It does kind of suck on this one. We have the 6 lanes going into this 3-lane, and so it does kind of create a problem with people on this little outer lane. They do have to brake a little more, but I think because it's not a highway, it should be okay. Our alternative is to upgrade it to a 4-lane highway, and I really don't want to do that in this kind of inner city area. I'm going to expand these just a smidge, though. And then you can kind of see the lane arrows aren't set up on these either. The auto configuration for this does do really well on the roundabouts, but for some reason sometimes it just doesn't get the lane arrows. And so a lot of times it's good to just check to make sure that they were done correctly. So let's go ahead and look at traffic again. 82. So we are going up a little bit. I mean, it's not a lot, but these are still red. It's to be expected, though. These are high volume intersections, and so you would definitely have red here. I think I'm going to go ahead and, because so many people are taking this turn, we're going to extend this node as well, just to give it a little more of a sweep. And there you go. That should make it just a little better for cars entering and exiting to kind of keep their speed rather than having to brake so heavily. Okay, and so you can definitely see a little bit of an improvement. A lot of the red has greatly decreased in these areas. We're now looking at 83%. We only gained a couple percentage, but once you get up to this point, it's kind of hard to get any higher. The next thing that we can do is kind of look at some of these bottlenecks that we've created. So like right here is a good example of this one, and this one. And a lot of these are just because anybody in this neighborhood, even like trash delivery or anything like that, the only way they can get in and out is this road. And so what we can do is create more access for them without creating 4-lane roads. But I think for these ones especially, these ones are a little better. of an example. What is this? Residential. I can go ahead and just create a road over here, and it'll just create a small access road. Nothing crazy, but enough to where if somebody wanted to come over this direction, they could choose this road rather than the other one. And then it kind of splits up the traffic a little bit, as long as you don't get everybody to just start taking this one road instead of the other. So there we go, and then let's go ahead and set it up since we already set up all of our roads. And there we go, and that should help to alleviate some of the pressure in there. And then I want to give this service center another access as well, though I don't know if we have one at the moment, but I could just create one. We could put one over here. It's a service road or service complex, and so it would be really good for us to have some other form of access, and so I think I'm just going to put one over here. We're going to end up demolishing that commercial, but it's for the greater good here, and so I could definitely see it being something that the city would petition for. Like, we need greater access to our service area. And there you go. And then that way, you can kind of split up the traffic a little bit. You just got to make sure that you don't create such a better alternative that people no longer take this road. I think we could even... I think that's good. Now it looks like people are starting to take this road a little more, so I think we're going to upgrade this to a 6-lane as well. I think any connection to this highway would probably be best as a roundabout. Just because we want to keep the traffic flowing. We don't want it stopping like this right here. We want to keep it going. Well, looks like we are having a little bit of a death wave, so I'm just going to go ahead and fix that real quick. Okay, and so now you can kind of see our only really big issues are this corner right here's super red, the freeway exit, which is to be expected, and then even though I created that access, this is still the main road for people to kind of choose for that. Adding this 6-lane did greatly help with the traffic. And I think we could actually probably do something here to maybe fix this. Isn't ideal for this right here is that this is just so close to it. So it's definitely not ideal. What we could do, since we don't seem to have a ton of traffic that's crossing over, we could just give these people priority and say, just continue on. You can go into the roundabout without stopping. That right there, fix most of the issues with that. This intersection, though, is just a problem. I guess the game does recognize it. It just, for some reason, the turn signals and everything, it doesn't do it well. Yeah, because both of these are technically right turns, and so... Okay, and so I think that's pretty good. We went over quite a bit, and our traffic is sitting at 82%, which is I think about as good as I've seen on here. You can get into the 90s. It's a little hard though, especially since we only have 2 freeway connections right now. Once we add more freeway connections, then we'll create greater access, and that's really what it comes down to. And luckily, we really don't have any big industrial DLC zones right now because those generate a ton of traffic. I'm also going to do another tutorial. I'm going to be doing tutorials on the different industries and then warehousing and different ways to optimize traffic when you're dealing with the trucks. And we're going to kind of look at it as we start laying down some of our industrial zones. We're going to end up doing probably a farming zone right here, and then we have a huge oil deposit over here. And in real life, if there was just an oil deposit like this, then it would definitely turn into oil fields. You wouldn't be building homes or commercial on top of this, and so this is definitely going to be an oil zone. This is going to be an oil zone as well. And so we'll kind of address some of the issues as we build those out. And let me know in the suggestions if I missed anything in the comments, and if you guys have any suggestions. And don't forget, if you like my content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button. They super help us a lot. And I will catch you on the next one.